Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? Okay, look, there have been quite a few people actually over the last couple of months asking me when will they know when they should sell their gold and silver, what they should do with their gold and silver. I mean, there are a lot of different options on what you should do when the time comes, and we're going to cover those here in just a second. Before I get started, though, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. If you are thinking about gold and silver, and you should be, go to our friends over at Money Metals Exchange. The link is down below in the description. If you're a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and you will get a free half ounce of silver. Real quick though, we see silver at $18.65 an ounce. Just like cryptos, people are asking me about cryptos. Here's the thing, you guys, you can see that the growth is stagnant. It's not going up too far. It's not going down too far. They're staying within a certain range. People want to call that stagnant growth, or you could call it accumulation. If you don't believe that it's going to go down any further in value, this is the time you would be accumulating. You start buying a lot of what you think is going to go up in value. So silver's sitting at $18.65 an ounce. Gold is at $1,650.70 an ounce. People are saying, man, it's lost a good chunk of its value. Yeah, it's being manipulated. Big time. Central banks around the world are buying up gold and silver, especially if you're a BRICS nation. Everybody's trying to get ahead of what's coming up. And so make sure that you are prepared as well. Do as they do, not as they say. So gold at $1,650.70. I think it was in July in 2020, I was trying to explain to people what the gold-silver ratio is. That traditionally it's around 15 to 1. 15 ounces of silver for 1 ounce of gold. That's where it is traditionally. But it's way out of whack. And why it is you should be investing in silver. Once they go to revalue the prices of gold and silver, they're going to bring the ratio back down to where it should be historically, which is 15 to 1. And the example that I gave back then, at the time, it was so out of whack. It was like 124 ounces of silver for every 1 ounce of gold. So I told him, look, let me give you an example of how you can gain without changing anything. And I said, let's say you have 10 ounces of gold. And if you believe that ratio is going to change, it gets smaller, then at the time, like I said, it was 124 ounces for every 1 ounce. So you would take your 10 ounces and trade it across for 1,240 ounces of silver. Of course, I'm oversimplifying things. There's going to be fees in there and stuff with people, so you're not going to get exactly that type of thing. So let's say you got your 1,240 ounces. I remember it didn't even take 3 months. And instead of it being 124 ounces to 1, it dropped down to somewhere around 68 ounces to 1 or 64 ounces to 1. And I said, now, let's say you have that same 1,240 ounces of silver and you want to trade it back for gold. You got something like 18 ounces of gold. You gained 8 ounces of gold just off the ratio. You can just trade the metal straight across. And there's people out there that actually do this for a living. Okay? So now you've gained 8 ounces of gold, and all you did was pay attention to the ratio. That's usually how you know whether you should invest more into gold or in silver. Right now, the ratio is somewhere around, it looks like about 88 ounces to 1. That's still way out of whack. Historically, it's 15 to 1. So what does this mean? You should be investing into silver. And when the market crashes and the dollar is going to crash, it's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's nothing anybody can do about it. It's going to crash. And when it does, you definitely want to be holding on to precious metals. But you'll see a huge jump in the values of gold and silver, and the purchasing power of the dollar goes down, which means you get more of those crappy dollars when the time comes to resell or whatever currency we end up being into. But it definitely will not lose its purchasing power. You guys have seen me do examples after examples of how much a house cost back in 1932 and how many ounces of gold it would have took to buy that house. And if you had the same amount of ounces of gold currently today, you could still buy a house with that same amount of gold. So that's what I'm talking about. Hold your purchasing power, okay? Somebody said, Pimpy, when the time comes, how am I going to know when to sell my gold and silver? Well, there's a couple things about that. It really is just going to depend on your financial situation. And the reason why I say that is how these rich families like the Rockefellers and all of them, how they grow, how their families continue to be wealthy is they pass their wealth along from one generation to another. So once the dust has settled and you have gold and silver, if you don't have to sell it, don't sell it. But if you do have a lot of silver and the ratio has gotten closer together, then trade a big portion of your silver into gold. That's because gold holds its value. So you want to have as much gold as possible. So if you have a bunch of silver and the time comes and that ratio has dropped down, make your trade across for gold and then hold on to it if you can. And then pass it down to your children or your grandchildren. But make sure you educate them about gold and silver as much as possible. So that is one option. The next option would be that there are people out there who got themselves into a little bit of debt. They're living paycheck to paycheck, but they have accumulated debt. So you have to ask yourself, how much of my precious metals do I need to sell to be debt free? If you still have some left over, then hold on to it. The gold and silver I'm talking about. But if you can sell some of your silver or some of your gold, one or the other or both, and it pays off your debt, I would sell the silver, not the gold, by the way. And you can become debt free outside of your regular monthly bills, then you should do that. Sell as much as it takes for you to go ahead and be debt free. That's probably one of the most liberating feelings out there. Then there's going to be people out there who have always wanted that dream car or that dream house. And with the markets getting ready to drop big time on houses and the value of gold and silver is going to shoot up, hopefully it gets to a point where you have enough gold or silver or both to where if you sold it, you could buy your house outright, then do it. If you can stay in a house and not have to pay a mortgage on there, another liberating feeling without the fear of ever having to be homeless, okay? And that money is always there, the value of the house. It never leaves, okay? Or if you wanted that car and you could do the same thing, then do it. But the goal is to be debt-free. I recommend that you put it all towards your debt first. And if you have to choose the metal, sell the silver first because gold retains purchasing power. Or if you're just flat out broke and you need the money, if you feel like it's reached its peak or you're satisfied with where you are monetary wise, but make sure you do yourself a favor and don't hold on to it too long trying to get an extra 25 cents or 50 cents or dollar. Once you get to a point that you're comfortable with is when you make your sell. Then you sell your precious metals, and then the first thing you should do is try to be debt free. If you're just selling it because you want to go to Vegas, that's not a good thing. So just sell what you need to sell to make sure you're debt free. Pay attention to the gold-silver ratio if you're going to hold on to the metals and pass it down from generation to generation. Remember that when the gap is lower on the gold-silver ratio, then you want to make your trade. You want to trade your silver over for gold. Now, if you're holding on to gold, a ton of gold, and you don't have very much silver, all of a sudden you start to see that ratio go crazy again. And it went from 15 to 1, now it's back up to 60 to 1, 80 to 1. Well, then take some of your gold and trade it and get the silver. Then hold on to the silver till the ratio goes back down. Do you see how that cycle goes? You can actually accumulate wealth with spending very, very little money. Just by trading on a ratio is what you could do. Anyways, you guys, this is what I'm talking about. The death of the dollar is coming. Having your money in the bank is a huge risk. Having your money sit in gold and silver that you own and possess is a wiser choice. Anyways, that's it for now, you guys. I look forward to catching your comments, and I will catch you later. I'm out.